when you're in it for the wrong reasons, things don't work out. And Allah knows your intentions. When you start changing your mindset, your intentions, and start looking for the betterment of others, the empowerment of others, you will always be winning. And that doesn't mean financially. It could just be peace of mind, peace of heart, just relaxed, you're calm. And obviously for me, I'm not a money motivated or orientated person. I've never been. Money's a resource, it helps you. And I have a course on this online, that money's not our enemy. And obviously as Muslims, we sort of have that mindset problem, or like money's haram, or I shouldn't have too much of it or anything. But how are we going to give back? How are we going to give zakat? How are we going to give sadaqah? How are we going to serve the ummah if we have no money?
Welcome to another episode of the I Love Monday podcast. Today we have the man, the myth, the legend, Osama
Where did you
Musa.
learn that one from?
That's how you first slid into my DMs.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
Osama is a leadership consultant. He's a master in sales, and I think he's had about 10 different businesses. But welcome to the podcast.
Jazakallah khair, bro. Jazakallah khair for having me on.
So, tell us where Osama Musa began.
Where he began. So I began in Peshawar. I'm Palestinian originally. Both parents are Palestinian. But I was born in Peshawar in Pakistan. I came out early. My parents' plans was to come to England and have me here. But I was excited for life, so I came out a bit premature, came out a bit early. And then delayed my parents' plans for a few years. And obviously migrated here when I was about 3 to 6 months old. So I'm first gen. All my siblings are born here, so they're second gen technically. So I got that on them, alhamdulillah. And then yeah, Southwest London, not born but raised. And then went through school, college. Had a year where we went to Jordan. Lived in Jordan for a year with my family. Came back, and ever since I was young, I always knew that I wanted to get into business, be an entrepreneur. I remember one instance, for example, when I was really young, where I spoke to my mum, and I was like, I want to be a hairdresser. I want to be a barber. And she was like, if you're going to be a barber, make sure you're the owner of the shop and not just an employee. And I was thinking about that just the other day, how that was one of those, you know, when you're really young, you don't understand what she meant. Like, all I said I want to be a barber. Why are you saying I have to own a shop? And I think that sparked something inside of me, subconsciously, which I wasn't aware of. And then as I started getting older, I was always into like business and stuff. I was always selling sweets and stuff at school. I was that kid trying to hustle, trying to make things happen. And it's funny because I didn't have any financial knowledge or management. So all the money I was making a day, imagine a kid at school making like 20, 30 pound a day, all coins, obviously not notes. And then what are you going to do with that money? I didn't like save or anything. Every day I would go to the arcade, play with my money and go home and repeat. So subhanallah. So
You
yeah,
still
that
do
was...
that?
Huh?
You still do that, make your money and spend it.
Yeah, that's all I do, bro. My wife now is hired as my financial director. She's not having any luck yet, but inshallah she can get there. But yeah, so then obviously growing up, that was, you know, what I was doing. And then alhamdulillah, got to college. And when I got to college, I had a business idea because so basically where I went to college, the kind of friends that I had, there was a lot of them that were, let's say, Caucasian, middle class to upper class, very rich. And at the time, I wasn't aware of this, but basically in our circle of friends in college, it was me that was ethnic, plus two or three other guys. So my 2 or 3 other friends that were of, you know, African, Caribbean origin, and then me who's Arab. And we were invited to one of my friends' parties as waiters. So they were like, do you want to come and like cater the event? And we didn't think much of it. We were like, yeah, cool. But all our other friends that were white were invited to the party as guests. Obviously, they paid us. And at the time, you don't deep these like situations, innit? But when I was at the party, I was like, yo, I could have a business here where I cater to this audience. Like, I just run my own events. They hire my services like this, and I just come and deliver the event. It's all prof, barely any costs. All it is legwork. Like, I do the labor and I get paid. And funny enough, just before that, I started doing football coaching and stuff where my mum would collect like 20 of her friends' children. They would all meet me at like some park. The kids would run around for an hour kicking the ball. I'd make £1 a kid. And then I was like, this isn't feasible. Like, if one of the kids gets injured or something, I haven't got first aid training. I don't have any coaching badges. So that didn't last. But these little things were happening early on, and I was like, okay, I know I'm going somewhere. And with the event stuff, that stuck. I started doing celebratory fundraising events. Basically meant wedding, any conference events where they were trying to raise money for like charity and stuff. And I soon realized that weddings are not for me. And the type of audience that you attract with wedding events is very, let's say they're very challenging. Because obviously, number one, that's the most important day in their life. So you understand that. But then the requirements keep changing. So like, let's say for example, today I want to, because I'm seeing a nice flower behind you that's pink. Let's say I want, a centerpiece that's pink with this, a lily as a flower and whatnot, and I want 100 centerpieces. You go and look for that thing, you come back to them and they're like, oh, we've changed our mind, we want yellow. And then next time it's like, oh no, we want white. So they don't know, and they keep telling you to go and do something. So your attention to detail needs to be really high. I was really young, I was like 18, 19. I didn't have that attention to detail. Whilst this was all happening, obviously I was working as well. So I was never the kind of guy that wanted to go to university. So straight from college, I went into working, and it was hospitality work, so waitering and whatnot. But I was doing it at prestigious events and hospitality venues. So like Chelsea Football Club, Twickenham, Rugby Stadium, Kia Oval Cricket Ground, Wimbledon Tennis. So I entered the world of luxurious service, but through doing something like hospitality. And then at a very early age, I became a manager. So at 19, I was managing the Players' Lounge at Chelsea Football Club, which was a really eye-opening experience. That was when, because ever since I was younger, I didn't really like idolize people that were like celebrities or whatever, but it solidified it to me when I was at Chelsea because they're just normal people. So like, I remember Torres came in one time, and obviously as a Liverpool fan, I loved that guy till he moved to Chelsea. But you still had that sort of soft spot for him, like, oh, it's Torres, isn't it? But when I saw him in the lounge, I was like, nah, bruv, I don't rate you in it. And especially because of the way he just moved and stuff in the lounge. He didn't do anything wrong, but just, just to himself and stuff. And I was like, right, the guy don't even say hello. And he left my club. No, what a waste, man. But yeah, that's... And then from there, alhamdulillah, I started learning like the attention to detail, like focusing on... When you got like large restaurants and stuff, obviously you need everything to look the same. The cutlery, the glasses, the service, the staff, and being put in a management position at a very early age. Obviously through my work rate, my characteristics and my skill set, but you still had to learn how to manage people now, not just yourself. So that was a learning curve in itself. And obviously with restaurants, I always advise people, if you want to learn skills that are transferable, do stuff like retail or hospitality early on in your life.
Why? Because
the skills that you learn there, like for example, if you do hospitality or retail, you're customer facing, you're back of house, you're doing sometimes admin, you're doing cash, inventory, you're doing a lot of transferable skills. So if I now am 16 to 21 and I go into a restaurant and I start working in a restaurant, I'm gonna learn how to manage up, I'm gonna learn how to work with my colleagues, I'm gonna learn how to be in a fast-paced environment. So for example, and retail and hospitality. Retail on like Black Friday or New Year's Eve, it's very fast-paced.
Boxing Day next.
Yeah, it's, mate, so fast-paced. And like, it's so messy. You have to stay on top of organization. You have to stay on top of customer service. Like, you have to learn to endure patience. All of these types of transferable skills that now if someone, was example, was to come to Highcastle Estates, who did a bit of hospitality for a year or two, will come knowing how to be customer facing, will know how to maybe organize his time or manage his time a little bit, because when you're in a restaurant, you're taking orders, you have to serve the drinks, you have to be, everything's up here. Like, okay, I've got all this to do. I've got table 12, I've got table 15, table 16 has got an allergy. Even though you've written it down, it's still ticking in your head. You've got to manage them. So I always say that these skills are transferable. And it's very important to have those skills. And alhamdulillah, I was fortunate enough to do that. Now, when I applied for uni, a couple of years later, I wanted to do marketing. Obviously being from like a business background and stuff, I always wanted to focus more on marketing. I always felt like I was good at that. And I was very creative. But Portsmouth University happened to offer me an unconditional offer, but to take hospitality management. Now, one of the main reasons I went to uni was just to move out of London and try to live on my own. So I didn't really care what degree I was doing. Obviously, now looking back, your degree is super important. But
is it?
Huh?
Is it?
I think if you know where you want to go It's really important. So, for example, I wanted to study marketing because I wanted to do a career in marketing. When I did hospitality management, bear in mind that I'm coming from a background of management in hospitality already. I was managing 5-star establishments. For example, in Chelsea, we were top 5 in Europe for our hospitality services. So when you're in that environment, when I went to university to study hospitality management, I was put in a room with people that have no experience or are learning the trade. I'm coming in from a position of management. So you're teaching me how to, from the first week I went in, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I remember they took us to like a shop or a restaurant where they want to teach us how to, service and all of that. And as soon as I went in, I said to one of my friends, I was like, can you tell me anything that's wrong with this bar? They were like, no. I was like, can you tell me anything that's wrong with the restaurant? They were like, no. And I was like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, and that's wrong. And I'm here to learn from these guys. That doesn't work. So from that, and I think that obviously mindset from the jump just made me take university as a joke.
Did you finish uni?
I finished uni, graduated with a 2-1, should have got a first. I've done my dissertation in 24 hours. That just says it all. Anyone that can do a dissertation in 24 hours and get a 2-1 just says a lot about the degree they took. However, why I suggest everyone to go to university? Number 1, the network and connections you build. Number 2, the people that you interact with that are teaching you, your lecturers and stuff like that, the knowledge and wisdom that they have, they'll give you a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year head start to where you want to go if you pay attention. So for example, I had an events business when I went into uni. I didn't capitalize on the network that I could have built at university, from lecturers to students to anyone at university that could have benefited my business, right? Going into university, for example, with an events business and with the network that they have, you could have really made something of yourself really quickly, because all your lecturers, especially with what I was studying, came from a hospitality or an events background. And if not, there was, for example, our accountant. And like little conversations like this stick in your mind. I remember when our accountant lecturer was giving us a seminar. Obviously, seminars, for those that don't know, is an enclosed room of like 10 to 20 students with the teacher. So it's you can talk to them a bit more casually than a lecture. And I said to him, I was like, how was it being like a lecturer? Obviously, in university, I'm not clocking to me, it was just education. So it was like being a teacher, but it's not, it's completely different. And he's like, outside of it, I've got my own accounting firm, I've got this, I've got that. In the time, it doesn't clock into your mind like, this person is an accountant with his own firm. Think about the amount of people he knows that may require an event service. By the time you don't deep it like that. You're just like, he's my teacher, he's my lecturer. And you're like, but that was when it first dropped, like clock. And I was like, hold on, like he's just doing this as a part-time thing. And then if you look at how many lecturers that you're going to come across at university, there's so many different people that you could just like benefit from. So for example, we had one of my strategic management lecturers in final year who worked for DHL and was one of the in the leadership teams of DHL, which is a universal brand. Think about the people he knows. And he was in the leadership team, so he was really high up. So if I just connect with him on a personal level, like think where he could take you. Because at university as well, lecturers pay attention to you more than you think. So if you're someone who's always like sat near the front, you're answering their questions if they ask you a question. If in seminars you're interacting and you start building that relationship, they're just humans like you. So any connection there could serve you well, especially when you're having like one-to-one reviews or whatever with your lecturers. They obviously start putting in good words. Osama's done this, Osama's done that. And obviously they talk amongst themselves. So then you could really benefit. Like you could really go really, really far if you do that. So for example, if you come to like placement, if you've built that relationship the first 2 years, on third year when you're looking for placement, or the last 6 months of second year, or whenever you're looking for placement, your lecturer is going to look out for you. As soon as they get a good opportunity, they're going to be like, you should do it. If they don't know who you are, they're not going to care for you like that. And that's just natural human behavior.
I've never looked at uni as a networking thing, but it does make sense. But maybe, I don't know, maybe each uni is different. I studied accounting. Lecturers may or may not have had accounting firms, but none of them's ever mentioned it, nor were they asked. But for me, it's always what you learn in the 3 years, you could learn that in 1 year, if that. And what I've learned, I probably learned more during 6 months working unpaid at an accountancy practice rather than 3 years at uni. Because the day-to-day things you apply in business, they all teach about mid-sized businesses to large corporations?
That's the interesting thing, right? So when I was listing the points, obviously I didn't get to it, but with university, one of the main reasons that I suggest everyone to go is life skills. Like who I became because of university and living on my own, learning about life, made a really big difference. And going back to your point, so for example, maybe I was asking questions to lecturers because I had this entrepreneurial mindset. And I'm someone who's a keen disruptive thinker. Like I want to disrupt your thinking. I want you to disrupt my thinking. I want to challenge your like opinions. Like, why do you think that? Why do you do this? Like, why didn't you just do that in your life? Like, what's making you become a lecturer? Like, well, why do you, like, I just want to know why, innit? Mm-hmm. I'm like that 5-year-old child that's like, why, mommy? Why, daddy? Why? Like, I'm someone who's got that sort of inquisitive personality. Like, I want to just know. Like, I want to inquire. I want to see how you think. I want to have, these deep thoughts or these deep conversations. And I wasn't aware at the time, obviously. I was basically being in sales, as you said. SubhanAllah, you said in the intro that I'm a master of sales. But what is sales? It's the art of questioning. Because selling is solving a problem. It's nothing else.
It's active listening, isn't it?
It's active listening and asking the right questions. So when I'm talking to you, I'm just asking you questions. And then if I feel like, oh, wait, I've got a solution to what you're saying, then, we can make it work. So from early on, I was always asking people questions. So like, for example, with accounting, obviously with accounting, your degree, you need to go to university to start learning I would suggest, the how to do things. But if it's just from a practical standpoint, if you were to do an internship, you learn the same thing. But like you said, you didn't think of university as a networking opportunity. I didn't either. But now I've come out of university, and some of the best friends that I've got now, some people in the network I've got now are from university. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not someone who is that connected to most of my school friends. Like, I'm connected to like 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. But it's a handful of people. Obviously, some people are still like, their best friends are their school friends from like 20 years ago.
So would you do a master's? Because master's, the network is a bit higher as well.
I've thought about masters for 2 reasons. Number 1, my credibility as a leadership consultant and a business consultant. Number 2, yes, for the network. Because I would love the opportunity to go back to university. A disclaimer here for all of you guys. When I went to university, I didn't focus on studying, right? And I didn't love learning. I was at university for all the wrong reasons. I went to university at 21, graduated by 25. 27 onwards, by the way, I'm only 29, I know I look older, and I'm making it sound like I'm really old, but 27 onwards is when my love for learning really kicked off.
Why is that?
COVID.
Why
Interestingly.
COVID?
So obviously, I've always been someone that has, let's say, I've always worked a lot. I've always done a lot of things. And I've always been someone who's at the house. I wasn't someone who could stay at home. COVID came. First 3 months, obviously, I was just on Call of Duty, Warzone, as everyone else. And then I got bored of that, right? As someone who's not used to being at home all the time, just playing P4 or whatever, got bored of that. So what did I start doing? I started researching how to do different things, how I could grow. And I always believe there's an opportunity in everything. Obviously, this is my optimistic mindset as a business owner or an entrepreneur. And I was like, so people are going to come out of COVID with 2 things. They're either going to be really successful because of COVID, or they're going to be in really big trouble. So then I started researching things. So for example, I started signing up to marketing courses. I started signing up to different programs. I started like just gaining all this knowledge. And the more that I was gaining knowledge, the more I realized, I was like, brother, I know nothing. Like I thought I knew so much. I actually know nothing. And then just prior to COVID, so just to give you some context, we had our events company, which was corporate events. So my events journeys cycle changed over the years. We ended up doing corporate events. Just before COVID, we were planning this huge food festival. And we were in touch with football clubs and big arenas that we were going to do the food festival in. And then because of a mistake I made financially in my business, we ended up going bankrupt and obviously learned a lot of lessons from that. So we actually put a pause on the business and the festival. And before we took money for sponsorships from different institutes and organizations that were going to have stalls or whatever, before we took any money, we decided to pause. This was December 2019, so we paused from January 2020. I got a full-time job in January 2020. March 2020, COVID hit. If I'd taken all that money from January to March, which was planned, I would have had to refund everyone or enter a huge battle legally with all the different moving parts.
Yeah.
For subhanallah, Allah always has your back and sometimes you don't even realize it. So then obviously that changed. So then when we've now in Corona, I'm learning all these new things. I was like, I want a tangible business, is that correct? Basically a business that I could operate without having that risk of, for example, COVID.
Yeah.
Something happening where I need to stop working. So I signed up to a bunch of different programs, bunch of different courses. And one of the guys that I spoke with was like, what are you passionate about? What do you do? What's your thing? And I was like, I'm passionate about my deen. I'm passionate about being Muslim. And as someone who lost my faith and refound it, my love for my faith is way stronger because now I understand and appreciate how beautiful it is. And I want to serve the ummah. And he was like, okay, what skills do you have? And I was like, I've always been in leadership positions ever since I was young. I'm the eldest of 9 siblings. That's naturally a leadership position. Playing football, I've always been a captain or a manager. In my career, became a manager very early on. Was always given added responsibilities. So I was like, I'm really good at leadership. And he was like, why don't you become a leadership coach? And I was like, subhanAllah, ironically, ever since I was young, I always said by 40, so 11 years from now, I was always going to be someone that's going around the world as a motivational speaker or inspiring others, empowering others, motivating others to achieve success. And I always said, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but for me, it's all about the journey, not the destination. But the destination is just an end goal. It's nice to achieve, but it's all about the journey. So my love for learning was from there. And then when I started actually learning about leadership and what made a good leader, obviously I had a lot of the traits and characteristics as a supportive, accountable leader, for example. I'm very supportive and I take accountability and hold my employees accountable. I have a way of managing my employees through emotional intelligence or building interpersonal relations, learning how to, get the peak performance and productivity from my team through certain things. Learned the power of systems and processes early on because you work in a restaurant, everything has a system and that's what you put in place so that it can run smoothly. So all of these different moving parts happened. So then I was like, oh, you know what? A leadership consultant. I always wanted to get into consulting and become a motivational speaker as well. So now this is one way of serving the ummah, and that's where Muslim Ameer was found. And it was, the idea sort of cemented from April 2 years ago. So this April will be 2-year birthday for Muslim Ameer, alhamdulillah. And alhamdulillah, we're here.
What do you love about leadership?
Honestly, the transformation. The amount of leaders I've developed through my career, working in hospitality and stuff, that was really proud moments for me. When I see someone who came in at 16, 17, not lost in life, but just, you don't know where you're going at 16, 17. You don't know what you want to do. You're a bit excited. And who they become at 20, 21, now in my business, consulting people, whether it's professionals individually or a business, and that transformation, whether it's generating them more money, helping them improve their life, improve their career. So for me, it's the transformational change that we bring, the impact that we have on someone's life. And from another standpoint, I love the challenge it brings. As a leader.
What kind of challenge?
As a leader, you're always challenged, right? Number one, as a leader, there's the rule of 2 L's that we say, which is number 1, listening, and number 2, learning. You always have to listen and you always have to be willing to learn. The minute you stop doing those 2 things as a leader, you're done. Secondly, as the hadith says, a leader is someone who is always in service to his people. And as Muslims, we have the greatest role model as a leader, the Prophet, peace be upon him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So why do I love leadership? Because of the challenges it presents, because of the transformational change that you have, but also because we're very blessed as Muslims that we have the best of leaders, the best of creation that ever graced the earth, which is the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So when we come to learn leadership, all these great leaders of our times and these great role models that we have are fantastic to learn from. And in terms of modern day practices, amazing. But for me, it's like we are so blessed that we have the best. If I just study the life of the Prophet ﷺ and implement 10% of what he taught us into my life and the life of other Muslims that I know or that I can touch or that I can reach, imagine how much our life would change. I had someone who reached out to me, and bear in mind, I do leadership consulting, so to help you with your professional, your personal, or your business, whether it's career or life. I had someone reach out to me who wanted support and help on how to become a better father for his children. And alhamdulillah, we managed to help him. I've had people reach out to me for different things. And when you become a leader, especially with the way that I'm positioning myself in the space that I'm working in, and you're having different people reach out to you, asking you to help them in different areas of your life, that's a challenge. And you're in service to those people. And when I first started Muslim Ameer, I'll be honest, I was obviously in it for the money, right? Obviously, you're in it for the change and the transformation, because as a business consultant, I would, even for the personal development stuff or any position, I always say to you, you need to know your why. If your why is strong, then you can achieve what you want to achieve. If the why is not there, then you don't have it. My why was obviously the impact that I was going to have on people's lives. But obviously it was a business, so I wanted to make money. In the first week, we generated a good amount of money. And then it started going downhill. Why? Because my purpose was not to just impact and change lives anymore. It was, how can I get more money? So when I changed back to being in service rather than trying to provide a service and trying to help the ummah rather than just trying to make money from the ummah, everything started changing again. And subhanAllah, I was going to make a post about this just last night on LinkedIn, that when you're in it for the wrong reasons, things don't work out. And Allah knows your intentions. When you start changing your mindset, your intentions, and start looking for the betterment of others, the empowerment of others, you will always be winning. And that doesn't mean financially. It could just be peace of mind, peace of heart, just relaxed, you're calm. And obviously for me, I'm not a money motivated or orientated person. I've never been. Money's a resource, it helps you. And I have a course on this online, that money is not our enemy. And obviously as Muslims, we sort of have that mindset problem, or like money's haram, or I shouldn't have too much of it or anything. But how are we going to give back? How are we going to give zakat? How are we going to give sadaqah? How are we going to serve the ummah if we have no money? So money's not our enemy. So I have a course on that. And this helps understand that as Muslims, we all have a responsibility to lead. We should all be leaders. Women, men, we should all be leaders in our own right. Obviously, we play different roles in society as a man and woman, but we should all lead. We should all have the leadership skills and characteristics and traits within us. Now, leadership can be learned. It's not just a skill we're born with. So everybody can learn leadership. Everybody can learn how to interact with humans. Everybody can learn how to engage with people and get the best out of people and inspire and motivate. And like I said a moment ago, leadership is about the transformation that you can bring to people. So empowering those around. So for example, you're an estate agent, mashallah, you have a team of people. Your role as the leader is, how can I make sure that my team grow and become better than me? In that, also helping me achieve my desired goal. Because obviously as a leader, you're the one with the vision. But it's about empowering those around you to become better people by the end of the journey.
How does every Muslim become a leader though?
What's leadership to you?
Empowerment.
Okay.
And you have to, for me as a team, I have to empower my team to reach their goals,
Okay.
and reach my goals, because I'm the one with the vision here.
Okay.
But they also have their own financial goals and their own life goals. And then we work with each member of staff and thinking, okay, this is what your goal is. How are you going to achieve it? And it has to obviously be in line with my goal as well.
Okay.
But that's how we empower them.
Okay.
And then as long as we both know our values are the same, and we're transparent with each other, we can move forward.
Okay. So your question to me was, how can all Muslims be leaders? I asked you, what is leadership to you? You said empowerment. So can we not all as Muslims empower one another?
We can, but not everyone thinks they have the leadership qualities or they're able to empower.
Perfect. So now it's a mindset issue.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is what I'm saying. How many men are going to get married and have families?
Probably all.
How many women are going to get married and have families?
Yeah, probably all.
Okay. So you all have your own kingdom at home. Who needs to lead that kingdom? The parents,
Yeah.
the mum and dad, and they have to work in partnership and cohesion, right, to make that happen. The woman will lead in certain areas of life. The man will lead in other areas of life. Okay, obviously as Muslims, we know how this works out, and we understand that as Muslims, our faith tells us that obviously the man takes the ultimate lead, right? And that the woman should respect that. And the woman also has her rights with what she delivers and what she's responsible for. But the ultimate thing is, you're all going to have to lead at some point in your own life, whether it's your family, your children, with your parents when they get a little bit older, your siblings, with work. So every Muslim should have the leadership skills and characteristics.
But if they think they don't have the leadership skills, or they're not able to empower or lead, how do they change that mindset? So someone's come to you as a client saying,
Okay.
I need help. What would you say?
Okay, the first thing I'll ask is, how much do you trust your instinct?
Me personally,
That's what I'd ask them. But yeah, how much do you
Yeah.
trust your instinct or
I
your
trust
decision
my
making?
gut. But I
Right?
think as a business owner, you trust your gut, and then you learn to trust your
Okay.
gut even more.
At which point did you become a business owner?
Probably when I was 22, 23.
Okay. And
Maybe
before
younger
that?
than that.
Before that, did you trust your instinct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did do side hustles and everything, so I would trust my instinct then as well.
Okay. So you had that experience. Obviously, there's many people that are challenged with this. There are many people that have confidence issues, many people that have mindset issues, many people that have personal relation issues, communication issues. Certain people have just gone through certain experiences in life
Yeah.
that have completely, let's say, changed them or made them a certain way. So the question doesn't become, how can every Muslim become a leader? It's, what does it take to become a leader? Now, obviously, we've spoke about empowerment, we spoke about transformation, but essentially, it's the ability to take control of a situation and get the desired outcome. That's what leadership is. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you need to work with them on that, of take control of your life and where are you trying to go with your life. That's essentially what it comes down to. Because sometimes you need to lead on your own. There's no team to lead. There's no people to lead. You're not a leader of a party that's trying to get a political change. You're just a leader of your own life trying to make a change. So that in itself, has different technicalities. So when you're a leader, trying to inspire others and empower others, that's great. But obviously there's certain moments where you have to be assertive as a leader. There's certain moments where you have to put your foot down. There's certain moments where you have to make a change. You have to make a difference. For example, like in your business right now, you might be wanting to make a complete different strategy or take a different path to achieve your desired goal. That's on you as the leader to make that decision. Now, some leadership characteristics or let's say certain leadership styles may be more relying on their team's opinion. So me as a leader, there's between 11 to 16 different styles. I'm not going to go through them today, but you can study them or you can take one of my courses and learn about them. But one of the leadership styles is that you're somebody who gets the opinions of your team. There's another leadership style where you're more assertive and you're the go-getter. You're the person who just makes a decision and we're going to go with this today. So depending on each person's personality, there's different leadership styles.
Is there right and wrong?
No, depends on the context and situation that you're in. Let's say you're on a battlefield. You don't have time to think, right? And you need to make a decision for your team to make sure you get the highest amount of people to survive the battle and to win. In that high pressure situation, you ain't got time to ask everyone their opinion. You as a leader just need to make a decision based on your instinct and what you should do. Other times, as a leader, you need to ask for people's opinion and say, wait, am I doing the right thing here? Like, what do you think? What do you think? Because remember what I said at the start, 2 L's, listening and learning. So sometimes I have to listen to those around me to make a calculated decision. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the businesses that I operate in, I have my team. Now, the type of leadership style that I like to always ask for people's thoughts and opinions. Why? Because it allows me to think differently and to see if I'm doing things the right way or if there's a better way to do things. Just today, before I came home, or yesterday, I was telling my team member to do a task a certain way. Yeah, this morning, I was telling her to do something. And she said, why don't we do it this way? I said, no, I've said, let's do it this way, because this is why I think it's better. And then she said, no, but this is why we should do it this way, X, Y, Z. And I said, look, I've told you what I want you to do, so just go and do it. That's fine. And she was like, cool. Now, she has the trust in me, obviously. I've built a trust as a leader that we make the right decisions. And 2, she knows that she's free to speak to me about her thoughts because usually I take her opinion on board and sometimes I change my strategy according to her feedback. Obviously, when you hire someone as a leader in a certain position, I'm hiring you for your expertise. So I'm hiring you because I feel that you can judge or consult or give an opinion on this matter. And let's say, for example, you're an estate agent, you have someone in lettings, and they might find a new opportunity for you that you haven't thought of. Okay? You're going to listen to that guy because he's the person on the field all day long. You're not in the field in lettings as much as they are. So you're going to listen to them. But if you know from your market knowledge and your experience and your expertise that actually, no, this isn't how we want to do it. I want to do it this way. So now you just go and do that. That's your responsibility as a leader. Just understanding what the situation is and what the outcome is going to be based on the decision that you take now and the consequences that will go. So obviously one of the things that you do as a leader is you might risk mitigate. So you risk analyze. If I do this, what are the risks involved? What are the cost implications? What's going to happen here? How am I going to end up there? That's on you as the leader. Obviously, you might have a risk analysis team. Like obviously, if you're a large business, you'll have that whole department that deals with risk analysis. These are qualified people that deal with this on a day-to-day basis. If someone from that team came to discuss something with you from a risk perspective, you have to pay attention to what they're saying because that's what you're paying them to do. But sometimes, as much as they say, like me and you were joking off air about the accountant, like how an accountant might advise us to do something, but we won't do it because deep down, we know where we're trying to go. We have the vision in front of us, what we're trying to do. And that impacts our decision making and impacts the final decision that you have to take as a leader.
If a business owner is a leader, why do they need a leadership consultant?
Because just because you're in a leadership position doesn't mean that you've got the leadership on lock. So you're a business owner. Me and you have had leadership conversations off her. What was the reason that you reached out to me and had the conversation with me?
Initially was, I said lack of time, and then you said no, it's clarity. But I think it's more for someone to come in and look from a different perspective and say, you're doing this, but you should try this.
Okay.
Basically that.
So there you go. So as much as you're in a leadership position and you might think, oh, I'm doing things the right way, having a second pair of eyes or someone who comes from an expertise background, just come and check things. So for example, we don't work with anyone and everyone. If I don't feel that I can help you, I don't work with you, first of all. Second of all, if I don't feel like you're a good fit for me, I don't work with you. Third thing, you as a business owner, for example, some people have achieved way more than I have in business and will still reach out to me. I had someone reach out to me who's a leadership consultant, does exactly the same thing as me. But I'm a business owner, he's not. So he reached out to me and said, I want to work with you. And I said to him, I said, me working with you is going to present a completely different challenge because I'm not coming to teach you anything about leadership. In fact, I want to learn from you. Because in a leadership sense, you're way ahead of me with the degree you have, the certifications, the people you've worked with, the people you've reached. But you've come to me asking me for support in XYZ with what you need support with. So different people need different things. Just because you're in a certain position in leadership doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek someone's support or help. And remember what I said the 2 L's are, learning and listening. So as a leader, you should always be learning. So that means that I might have to learn from someone who is not necessarily below me, but someone who comes from a different perspective or a different angle. And it depends what you need and what you require. So if you're someone who's a business owner who's looking to scale your business, you're going to seek support from someone who can help you scale your business and identify the right strategies, the right systems, the right processes, and take you through that journey. You might be someone who scaling is easy for you, but you might have a problem with actually managing your team and getting the best out of them. So then that's a business owner who needs that type of support. So nobody's perfect. Everybody has something that they're challenged with.
What's the most common problem people have come to you with?
That's a good question. Do you know what? Everyone comes with different challenges and different problems. And I think, number one, everyone thinks that they got their mindset sorted as a business owner or they're making enough money. But it's not true. And when they go through my mindset program, and I always start with mindset with any client I work with.
Why?
Because sometimes you think you're okay, but you're not. And that doesn't mean that you're going through personal problems with your wife or you're not confident. But for example, one of my segments is financial freedom. Money's not our enemy. And a lot of business owners are stuck in their financial element. One of my clients, for example, was making profit, making lots of money. When we broke down his numbers in terms of financially, what his team were doing, his team were closing 0.1%. Or sorry, 0.1%, not 1%, 0.1%. So out of 1,000 leads or conversations, they're making one sale and they were making profit. So if I'm approached by a business owner like that who's telling me, oh, I'm making money, I can do this, I can do that, I don't need you. But when you break down his numbers, bro, you're not doing as well as you think you are just because you're making profit. Yeah, so the more that I'm talking to people, the more I'm engaging with people, the more I'm realizing that everybody has a problem to solve. Maybe I'm not the best solution, and I tell them, if you don't feel comfortable with me, you don't have to work with me, but you need support in X, Y, Z, go find that support and go work with that person, whoever that is for you. And sometimes the delivery of message, me and you can hear the same message, but not understand it the same way. And you could hear the same message 100 times, the 101st time you hear it is when it clicks. For example, the other day, this is quite funny, I was with my friend, and we were sat there, and we were talking about history, and he said, did you know that history is his story? And I was like, whoa, I never thought of that. Because I said to him, just before he said that, I said to him, whoever wins the battles or the conquests, they're the ones that write history. So if me and you live on from whatever situation, we write our own history and we say that this is what history was. And then he was like, yeah, did you know it says his story? So you've obviously heard that before, but it never clicked. But when he said it in that moment, because of the context we were talking in, it clicked for me. I was like, whoa, like. So it's the same thing in anything. Me and you might talk about mindset. For example, as a consultant, I'm not going to come and teach you something you don't know. 95% of the times that me and you work together or talk about something, you will know what I'm saying to you. I'm not like, I'm bringing something new to the market. And with how much access we will have to the internet and to videos, and for example, like if I'm on YouTube and I want to, how do I scale a business? How many videos are going to come up?
Yeah, loads. Loads
of videos come up. Everyone's saying what? Near enough the same thing, but everyone's got their own way of delivering a message. So sometimes I resonate with this person more than this person, and that's whose message clicks with me, and that's who makes me think, oh, hold on, he's onto something. And that's what it comes down to.
But when a business owner comes to you with a problem and you want to point out mindset first, do you try and push a certain mindset, or do you try and figure out where they are and then push a mindset you think is suitable for them?
Okay, I never push anything that is suitable for them. I take what they give me and see is that. So for example, I had one client that done the mindset program. So my mindset program is 5 modules and it's very quickly. You could finish the course in 1 hour and it's done. You have some worksheets, and on the worksheets you answer certain questions. So when they answer the questions, depending on what they've answered, I could be like, hold on, you're not ready. So for example, let's put it this way. I am my business. You are your business. If you're mentally not stable, emotionally not stable, so physiologically not stable, is your business going to run as well as you want it to?
No.
Never. And you're the leader. So if your business ain't running the way it should be because of your own problems, how do you expect your team to deliver on what you want them to? You're not even operating 100%. Your team are never going to operate 100%. So the mindset for me, I've had one client who entered the mindset, done the mindset stuff, and came out with nothing that we need to fix. One. I had other clients that signed up for business consulting, ended up doing personal development with me for 3 months before we went into anything business related. Because they untapped into so many issues they didn't know existed in their mindset. And obviously you've seen my program, you've seen the kind of questions I ask and some of the things that I say. So the questions are there to challenge you, to disrupt your thinking and to see where are you at. Because if you're good, let's crack on with the business stuff. You're not good, I can't talk to you about business yet. Because how am I going to improve your business if you're not fit for purpose?
So do you then do you then advise the personal development side first, then pushing the business consultancy?
Again, when you're working with, let's break it down. A leader is a human being, and we all have certain challenges we're faced. And if someone's not faced with a mindset challenge, they might be faced with other challenges. Might be confidence, might be habits, might be any one of those things, right? So therefore, you have to tackle the individual. So in business, we have a saying that you're not talking to a business, you're talking to a person. And behind every business is a human being. So the business won't function at the optimal level if the individual is not functioning at an optimal level. That's just natural. Just take that as a fact. Now, some leaders can operate at a much higher level without letting this personal stuff impact them. It won't impact their performance, it won't impact their business as much. Other business leaders or owners may have their business suffering because of their own issues or their own battles. Okay? Whether it's money, whether it's mindset, whether it's organization, whether it's operations, whether it's logistical, whether it's not recruiting correctly, whatever problem that they might be faced with. Now, obviously, everyone has different challenges. So like you said, when me and you first spoke, you thought it was about time management when it was in actual fact about clarity, right? So that's two different things. Because if you have clarity, you'll manage your time correctly because you'll know what to focus your time on. So it's not actually the time management as such. And when me and you first spoke, you already had some productivity hacks in place to make best use of your time. So you were conscious of the problem, you were trying to make a solution or find a resolution for your problem, and you were implementing it. And yet, when we reached out, it turned out that there was actually something else. And that's what you get with a consultant. They allow you to think and see things differently. Now, as you know, me saying that doesn't mean 100% that either it's true, correct, or you have to do it. Just a disclaimer. You could have easily turned around to me and said, no, you're chatting rubbish. My clarity is fine. But it turned out that at the time, that's not what happened. And you said that, yeah, clarity was something that you needed help with or wanted to work on. So this is what I mean. So every conversation is different. Like, for example, I'll refer back to the example with the numbers. The client that I was working with, when I showed him that 1 out of 1,000 conversations is a sale, wallahi, his reaction was like this. He's like, bro, he gave me pen and paper. He's like, write down your number, write down your figures. What do you want from me and how much do you want? I'll give you it all. In that moment, he got so excited, that was his reaction. Because he couldn't believe it. He was operating a business at a profit, making thousands of pounds. When I showed him that if we just improved that to 3%, you become a multimillionaire, obviously he was willing to throw everything at me. But that...
It's looking at it from a different perspective.
Exactly, and that situation is isolated. But obviously that comes down to breaking down like figures. And like when me and you were sat down last month and I showed you like how we can just, incremental small change here and here and here and here can lead to big impact and compound effect here and here and here. So this is what you're gonna get. This is what happens when you have someone who comes from a different perspective, who, you know, maybe you have better business experience than me. In all fairness, like look, you've got an office, you've got employees, you're here every single day, right? So someone might say, as a business, you're doing much better than me as a business owner.
But I think everyone adds their own value to each other.
Perfect. That's what I was just about to say. Someone brings their own expertise in, who can help you identify things in a different way. Some people will say, for example, in the coaching space, always just coach someone you're one step ahead of. So if you've learned how to build a 6-figure business, coach someone who's at 5 figures to get to 6 figures. If you're at 7 figures, teach someone who's at 6 figures to get 7. If you're at 8 figures, that's how it works. But sometimes it doesn't have to be just like that, where it's like numbers. Sometimes it could be, for example, I've managed teams of 500 people, for example, right? So how did I get the best out of 500 people in one go? So that in itself is an expertise that anyone can benefit from, unless someone is managing a team of 3,000.
Does Osama Musa need leadership consultancy?
Do I need I do.
So do you consult yourself or do you go to someone else?
I try to have an accountability coach or someone who around me can support me. Because, for example, like I'll tell you straight up, some of the stuff that I'm challenged with, some of the things that I'm challenged with are accountability, someone making sure that I'm doing the things that I want to say that I do, discipline, consistency. All the things that I can coach you on doesn't necessarily mean that I'm implementing, which is wrong. I'm not saying that this is correct, but these are the things that I'm challenged with. I'm a human just like you. So we can speak about all these things, but the implementation of them is much more difficult. And as a leader, you have to be vulnerable to your weaknesses. You can't sit there and say, okay, I'm just good at these things and ignore the weakness.
I think as a leader, you need to know your weaknesses.
100%.
And then you focus on your strengths, and the
100%.
weaknesses you delegate.
100%. And I'm a big advocate, and me and you spoke about this. Always focus on everyone's strengths around you and amplify that.
Yeah.
I never ever train any of my employees on stuff that they're weak in. Never. Wasting my time. You're weak at copywriting. I'm not going to come and try and teach you how to copyright because it's not your strength. What? Even if you're a 3 at copywriting and from my training you become a 6, I've achieved nothing. Zero.
Because you want people to start at 7 and train
You
up
want
to 10.
7, 8 and make you a 9, 10. If I can't hit 10, I want to get as close to 10 as possible, right? So, it's the same thing right now. Like, for example, you've got a sales team and you know certain skill sets that they've got, right? Some might be good at lens, some might be good at sales, some might be good at social housing, some might be good at finding landlords, whatever that skill is. So if you've got someone in your team who's amazing at networking, bro, send them out to networking events all day long, all over the country. I don't want you doing anything else. Nothing else. I don't want you to write one email. I don't want you to make one call. I want you at every single event in the UK. Your job is to find those events and go to those events. All expenses covered. Within a year, this guy's networking skills are going to go through the roof. His network all of a sudden and his connections start feeding your business where maybe we have 30 branches of High Castle Estates all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's the power of focusing on someone's strengths. My strength, for example, my network and how I build connections, and obviously my leadership skills and traits. And a lot of people say that I'm good at coaching or consulting. So, that's what I would say my skill set is. Some might say talking or talking a lot. But yeah, and then what my weaknesses are, for example, I'm not the best at organization.
So do you have someone in place to organize you?
My wife. I think all men have their wife there organizing their life, bro. But no, like, obviously, the funny thing is I didn't realize I was weak in organization till I got married. Because I saw how good my wife is at organization. And that was like, whoa, like this is a completely different level to me. And obviously now I'm learning from her on how to become better organized.
As a business owner, do you try and be good at everything?
No.
But did you try and be good at everything?
Yes, and I tried to do everything on my own.
And
one of the biggest lessons I learned in business early on was outsource. Outsource. Anything that takes up too much time and doesn't deliver a good result. For example, graphic design. I was graphic designing everything for my business. So much time and effort. It took me away from sales, building relationships, talking to people, and I was now sat in a room for 12 hours trying to design something. Website development. For the last 10 years, I've always been trying to develop my own website. Now I'm good at it. Now I'm actually if you want, I could start a website development business and actually develop websites for people for money. Because obviously it's been something I put hours and hours in. But if I could go back 10 years, I'll just outsource it. Hire someone, pay him £1,000, do my website as I want, saves me time. I could be out there making money. One of the things that killed me in business was I was spending way too much time doing the things that I shouldn't be doing and not doing enough time on the things that I'm good at that would generate revenue. So I would have, obviously in business, cash is king. I would have a standstill of cash. Nothing coming in because I'm wasting time doing graphic design. And by the end, all the designs that I would make just look absolutely appalling. So, but then you hire someone for $500 in Pakistan who's just amazing at graphic design and he can just do everything for you. And obviously as you get bigger, you might hire someone in-house, pay them a salary, and they just do it for you. And then as you get bigger, you hire a team, and that's how it works. So now I'm outsourcing 90% of the stuff in my business.
When you started Muslim Ameer, obviously you wanted to empower Muslims, and you spoke about your intentions. That was 2 years ago, nearly 3 years ago. What's next for Muslim Ameer?
That's a good question, man. MashaAllah. It's all by the grace of Allah, obviously. Nothing to do with me. And it's a responsibility upon me that Allah has placed upon me. But alhamdulillah, Muslim Ameer is going from strength to strength. So the first year, what we did was we tried to identify our ideal client and who we wanted to serve. In the second year, it's been about growth and sustainability of the clients that we serve. Now, we've just opened up 2 more services. So we have our comprehensive courses, which is the Ameer Academy online, where you can take leadership and business courses and personal development courses. That's all online. And I'm actually doing it at an affordable price now. So rather than everyone pay for an individual course, we're going to do it on a subscription model where they pay $24.99 a month and they get access to all the courses. So if you're someone who's clever, you'd come in, pay the £25, take all the courses in less than a month and dip. Obviously, I'm giving you that as an insight. Obviously, if you don't do that, you get charged monthly and you stay up to date with all the courses that are coming out. Then we have the one-to-one coaching, which is the Ameer Accelerator program. There's a high-ticket item where I work closely for 90 days with someone, 12 weeks, one-to-one. Then we have the leadership consulting for businesses, where we utilize the SAFER framework, which I developed, to break down their business and try and grow it and scale it into making much more money or entering new markets or whatever they want to do with their business. And the 2 new segments that we just launched from March this year because of the demand. One is the halal investments, So now we get investments for business owners or people that are entrepreneurs trying to make money through our extensive network. And we work closely with certain partners that are from financial advisors or financial boards or institutes that work with us to get the halal investments for our clients. And the second one is the Sales Supremacy Academy or package, which is we outsource our sales department to our clients. So we have a client who reaches out to us and wants to grow their business through sales. Rather than them having to recruit and hire a sales team, they outsource to us and we do the work for them. And we'll have in-house employees that are our employees, but they work with our clients as account managers and they liaise with the client. So if the client needs anything from them, they become with them.
Extended branch of the team.
Extensive branch, yeah, exactly. And that can break down into three. So we have like a sales development rep who does lead generation, we have an appointment setter, and we have a closer. So we have three different types of people that obviously the businesses can lean upon us for. So alhamdulillah, it's growing. My vision with Muslim Ameer is to impact and change one Muslim life a day. And inshallah, you know, it's going to be very challenging. And we're trying to be the number one, we will be the number one leadership consultancy for Muslims worldwide.
What's the difference between trying to be and you saying you will be?
Mindset. Me trying means that I might never get there. Me saying we will, inshallah, one day we'll get there. And one of the things that Brian Tracy says, for example, is don't say things like in the present, say it in the past. Like say, I did it. Say, I can. So rather than saying, I'm going to go to the gym, that in your mind's like, oh, I've got to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. If I say, I've gone to the gym today, you haven't gone already, but you've told your mind subconsciously, I've gone to the gym. Like, I've done it. So when you go to the gym, like, it feels natural that I'm here. Right? So obviously, but you have to be realistic. So when I'm saying I want to be the number one, or I'm going to be the number one leadership, we are the number one leadership consultancy in the world. Number one, there's not many competitors that are doing this and serving the ummah in this way. And number two, we believe, or I believe, and I might be in la la land, but I believe that our product and service for what we do and how we try to cater to the community is the best in the world. Till someone shows me otherwise. And even then, I'm not going to believe it because I have to believe in myself. So, you know, and this comes from your own confidence and coming back to trusting your own decisions and trusting like, all the things we spoke about before. You have to have that belief as a business owner that what you have is the best in the market.
But you also have to be open to change.
Of course.
So if someone comes to you and say, not necessarily you are number one or you're not number one, but says, why don't you implement this or why don't you implement that? Would you do it? If you feel it works for you.
Exactly. If it made sense in that moment to do that, then yes. Look, what does number one mean?
There's no way of monitoring it really.
How many people regard themselves as number one?
Alex Ferguson.
Some would say Bill Shankly, right? So that's the point. Like, who decides what number? What's the metric we're using?
There is no metric.
There is no metric. So when I'm saying that statement boldly, it's because in my mind, yes, and because of the service that I'm giving and the transformation I'm making. Someone else that might come as a competitor also say they're number one. Are they serving people the right way? Yes. Are they doing what they feel is correct? Yes. They could be number one in what they're doing as well, but we could serve different. So for example, just today I was listening to Dan Locke, I don't know if you know him, and he said, one of the things that I focus on in sales is closing. I'm the best at being a closer. I don't do cold calling. I don't train people on cold calling. I can do it, but I'm not the best at it. I'm the best at closing. They call me, that's what he said, they call me the king of closing. What does a king do? Who is a king? Why is he a king? He's a king because of his kingdom. So I'm not the king of closing because I'm the best at closing. I'm the king of closing because being the best at closing, I trained everyone around me to be the best at closing. So now we have 100 different closers that are all the best at closing. So now he's in a very select niche. So it's the same for me. I want to be the number one for leadership empowerment for Muslims worldwide because we as a community don't have someone doing that. We make up a third of the world. How many influential Muslim leaders do we have? How many people that can make a political change or a change for the society or a social change, economic change for the world? Only now do we have organizations like IFG, Wahid, Nesta, all of these Islamic faith organizations that are doing some form of change financially for us as Muslims. Why is it taking this long? What was missing in our community? Why couldn't we get a halal way of going to university early on? There are now petitions from like Muslim Census and these organizations that are working with governments to make a change for Muslims. But that's only happened because now Muslims are getting in leadership positions to make influential change and influential difference worldwide.
I think a lot of that is due to the intention of people coming to this country. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's the intention they needed is they needed to survive. They needed to earn a living. Now it's passed to second gen, like me, like your siblings, who can now flourish because we don't need to worry as much as our parents did or grandparents did. And it's because of that we can now open-mindedly look at different avenues. And also the other thing is our parents and grandparents faced a hell of a lot of discrimination compared to what we face.
I completely agree. And actually, obviously, if people have seen me elsewhere where I've talked about this, I say this. I say, when we first came, first of all, language barrier. When my father came, or when your dad came, the language barriers was, you speak Gujarati or Punjabi, I speak Arabic, and even my dialect of Arabic might not be the same as another person's. All of a sudden, we have a language barrier. Number two, as you said correctly, they were here on survival, not on anything else.
Yeah.
We now, third, fourth generation, are able to make a change. But I want to compare us to two different communities, the Hindus, right, and the Jews. They are minority. And the Hindus, they came at the same time as the Muslims. Because, India, Pakistan, they all came in terms of Asians from the same regions at the same sort of time. However, if you look now, the Hindus have influential leaders in influential positions. Look at the Prime Minister, if you look at across political platforms, if you look at economic platforms, if you look at any industry, there's a leader who comes from that sort of background. If you look at what the Jews have done, and we can learn from these communities, they kept the money and the infrastructure in their community. They're more expensive, they'll pay. Why? Because they understand the power of serving your own. Now, I'm not saying Muslims should only work with Muslims and nobody else, but one of the things that we're trying to break down at Muslim Ameer is the stereotypes that Muslims don't like to work with Muslims. Oh, brother, give me discount, I'm Arab, you're Arab. Oh, brother, I'm Pakistani, you're Pakistani, give me discount. All of these stereotypes exist, I'm not saying they don't, but we're breaking that down. And that's because of the generation that we live in now, where we have people, like you said, second, third, fourth generation that have got a good education, the language is not an issue. You're from India, I'm from Palestine, we're sat here talking the same language. Our values and faith is aligned. So all of a sudden, we have this situation where we are able to actually build these foundations now, to give our children the right platform and the right foundation to, inshallah, strive and thrive and be empowered, enrich their lives, be enlightened. Whatever they want to achieve, they can achieve, inshallah.
Is that your vision for Muslim Ameer?
Inshallah.
Because it seems like it is, and it seems like the consultancy is one part, because obviously the business owners are kind of the head of societies, or the entrepreneurs, because they're the ones who have generally, they've got the brains, the finance. Even I was speaking to, I can't remember who I was speaking to recently, but he said the mosques should actually speak to business owners to see how mosques can flourish. Because the mosques in America, for example, they're more community centers rather than open and shut 5 times a day.
It's true. I mean, look, in Islam, we are told that we should be successful, right? And this can come in different ways. If you look at all the Sahaba who we should use as our role models, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, how many of them were entrepreneurs? How many of them had wealth? How many of them had money? How many of them were self-made? The wife of the Prophet, the first wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him, was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the kingdom. So that's also a sign to our sisters. You could also and should also be an entrepreneur or have a means to success. Now, I'm not saying everyone should be a business owner. That don't make sense, and that will actually make us, no money.
Yeah.
Because we need employees. And some people are really good employees. Some people are better number 2s than number 1s.
But I think, was it yesterday? Someone said on this podcast yesterday, you need entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. People who are really good at the jobs and the people who are really good at leading businesses.
That's exactly it.
I think as a general rule of thumb, Muslims should try and be the best at what they can be. I think Muhammad Ali said that.
Yeah.
Even if you're a dustbin man or rubbish collector, be the best.
Be the best at that. Yeah. And this is, look, subhanAllah, this is what we in Islam, obviously, you have to do things with ihsan and taqwa. So what does that mean? Ihsan is to do things the right way, in the correct manner, to the best of your ability, to the best. So for example, I want to get dressed today, I should get dressed with ihsan, the best that I can. I should put perfume on with ihsan. I should speak to Zayd with ihsan. I should treat people the way I want to be treated with. Having taqwa, being conscious of Allah in everything that I do. So when you have those two foundations intertwined with how you live your life, then you're good. And this is why as Muslims, sometimes we don't understand the beauty of our religion. It's not just a faith, it's a way of life. And like I said, obviously, having refound my faith and studied my faith, not that I'm a student or a scholar, but for my own purpose and my own journey, I realized that if we just implement everything that we're taught in this beautiful religion, we will become the best of people and the best of nations. And if you look historically, when Muslims were doing what they were doing around the world and the world was a really nice place to live, was why? People took that upon themselves with ihsan and taqwa. People treated people with ihsan and taqwa. People done all their work the right way. And that always has a huge impact.
What's your one tip to a Muslim business owner?
Invest in yourself.
How? By consultancy, mentoring, stuff like that?
Yeah, whatever that looks like. Whether it's through coaching, consulting, personal development, deen, studying the Quran, spending more time with your family. I don't know how that looks for each person, but invest in yourself, time in yourself, in your family. We're only here for a short time, and the aim is always akhirah, not the dunya.
Okay, we've got a quick fire round, which I got from your Speak Sense podcast.
Thank you. Cheers for the shout out as well.
When am I coming on that one?
Inshallah, in a few weeks it'll be released. This one might be released before that one. Let's see. Inshallah khair.
This one will probably be first Monday of April.
Say no more, bro. Maybe release them at the same time. Let's see, confuse people.
Favorite book?
Novel or personal development?
Whatever your favorite one is.
Favorite novel, The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini, great writer. And favorite personal development book, I think because of the impact it had on me and my thinking, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And that talked about, the 1% that you do every day is what compounds over a length of time, rather than trying to do big chunks. Just stick to 1% a day.
Favorite food?
A one-off meal, maybe like Japanese, like a sweet chili katsu with some noodles, really bangs. The wife's cooking.
You have to say that.
I have to say that. I'll get paid to say that. You don't get this fat without the wife's cooking. So I'm on my journey to. I fluctuate. Next time you see me, maybe I'll have my six-pack back. But
both of us.
Inshallah, yeah. Let's do this together. Ramadan's coming, innit? That's why.
Favorite holiday destination?
Oh, best place I've been to, hands down, Malaysia. And if I can live there, that's where I'm going to migrate to.
Favorite TV show?
Ooh. For intellectual, like for the intellectual side, Suits. If you're about like the gangster stuff, there's quite a few that are good. I think obviously Breaking Bad. There's the whole Power movement. They're all really good. Like Kanan's Story, that one's really good. What other ones? Obviously got a shout, Top Boy. Yeah, quite a
They were
few.
filming here.
Yeah. Obviously they're around here, innit?
No, literally just there.
What, this high street?
For the next season.
Oh yeah, sick.
And favorite day of the week?
Got to say Monday because of the podcast, but Fridays, man. Jum'ah.
We just said yesterday, innit?
Yeah.
That's your day off as well, isn't it?
It's my day off. I don't work Fridays. I advise everyone to not work Fridays as Muslims. And I don't know if there's a petition, or I would like to start a petition maybe for the government to not make Muslims work on Friday, because that's our holy day. So if enough of us get behind that movement, we can work. Like my working week is Sunday to Thursday, and whoever works with me works Sunday to Thursday. So even my sales team. And actually, probably shouldn't say this, but we might get ahead of competition because we'll be calling people on Sundays when it's their day off. So they're more likely to be by the phone, more surprised that they're getting a cold call, and probably more willing to listen to us because they have the time. They can't say I'm busy.
That's true as well. That's true. Osama, thank you very much.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
And we'll put your socials. And where's the best place people can find you?
LinkedIn, or just find us anywhere on Muslim Ameer, at Muslim Ameer UK. And yeah, obviously just look for us on LinkedIn, Osama Musa, Empowering Muslims through effective leadership.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair. Subhanaka Rabbi wa bihamdik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.